Hello, it's me. Hope you're all well. So, once again, I'm going to take a look at some more of the P. Diddy trial information. Uh, yeah, let's see what we can find out, shall we?
And after dinner speeches, you want to hold your audience. You follow the dry but necessary stuff with the moment they've all been waiting for, or several moments they've all been waiting for. And that is what happened today in the Diddy trial. Week 6 of testimony. It actually started off a bit of a snore. I was losing consciousness for a bit. It was spreadsheets and flight logs and text chains and bank statements and hotel receipts.
That person he was hugging then looked
I need
like
a
a
snack.
character from Lord of the
And then
Rings.
the airfare receipts. And my yawning snapped shut. Airfare receipts. Okay, now you got me, because sex trafficking kind of sometimes, requires some travel over state lines. That list turned out to be a virtual paper trail of free coughs. Free coughs that had been going on between Diddy and his ex-girlfriends for years.
Shout out to
And
News
all
Nation for their
completely
coverage.
necessary for the government to make its case for racketeering and sex trafficking, maybe while not being exactly gripping, being totally important and critical, and oh my God factor. It did not help that the special agent on the stand didn't even use the term freak off. She instead called those orgies meetings. Yeah, meetings, government lawyers, eh? But then, boom, prosecution hit play. They hit play for the first time in this trial. That poor jury, or maybe they liked it, I don't know. That jury saw actual freak.
I don't know if it's me being a Brit, but the fervour and vigour that some of these things are being reported with is, it's not distasteful, but it seems a bit sort of like theatrical to me, and it just leaves me a bit cold, because in some ways maybe again as a Brit you want the dispassionate, or it used to be the dispassionate BBC received pronunciation version of the news. Hello and welcome. Today the news. And it would just be that monotone thing all the way through. But there's no doubt it's entertaining, so let's be entertained.
Videos. I know what you're thinking, and yes, they had already seen some photos, like screenshots of the dirty videos. They had already heard some audio of the freak offs, but today each and every juror got a set of headphones, and they were forced to watch 3 clips that rolled on the monitors in front of them.
I would pay
Monitors,
cash to see the expression on their faces.
Not visible to the people who didn't need to see what was going on those videos. Because some people are calling those sexual assaults in this case, right? And you can't just open sexual assaults up to the public. One clip was from October 14th, 2012. The night prosecutors say Sean Combs arranged a freak-off in New York with his girlfriend at the time, Cassie Ventura, and a sex worker known as the Punisher, real named Sheree Hayes. Both names came up before in this trial, and Hayes was a guest.
So he's a sex worker or escort called Sheree Hayes, but his stage name, his working name, is the Punisher. How much more comedic would it have been had it been the Punisher and his name had been Kevin?
Very show.
It always started the same, some sort of a scenario where we would be across from each other on couches that were covered with sheets. It always had to start with a baby oil, with me rubbing it on myself, her doing the same, escalating to us rubbing each other, and then escalating into small sex acts, leading into actual penetration. It's very methodical and pretty much the same.
Are you smiling at?
Have a look at this.
Where's the fire?
We were affected by that PCP scandal.
Where's the
and
fire?
It's
very methodical.
Very
much the same every time.
The feds played 2 other freak-off clips, both from 2014.
No wonder he became
some
bored
of the jury
with his
were
lifestyle.
Stone-faced. Others were definitely not stone-faced, and I'm going to have a lot more on that with some real specific details from somebody who was there and watching that panel of jurors, literally watching super dirty porn. Another memorable name resurfaced in court today as well, that of Diddy's former longtime right-hand
Yeah,
woman,
she's conspicuous
Christina Coram.
by her
Look at your
absence.
monitor, right beside me there, in between Diddy and me. This is the court photo of Christina Coram. And why is it a photo and not a person? Good question. I don't know. I fully expected the
But you
government was
want to
going to
know?
call Christina Coram the chief of staff for Diddy. I fully expected
Yeah,
she was going to walk in
she's
and maybe get
the nuclear
immunity, 'cause
button, isn't
dang,
she? If
if you
she
believe what the government is
testifies,
saying, she is in
if it's not
trouble.
already done,
But she was
I
not
think it's
called.
done at that point.
So watch this space to see if she's charged. I don't know. But she was at Diddy's side throughout his relationships with both Cassie and the other accuser known only by the name Jane. Today, juror.
Interesting point, actually. Was she subject to any sexual advances? Was she, because as his lieutenant, if you like, his right-hand woman, his girl Friday, you would expect a smart person to make sure that the woman who was running your empire, so to speak, was clean, that they weren't involved, so that they could be objective. But wouldn't it be interesting if indeed she was part of that whole, dare I say, depravity?
Saw Christina Coram's text messages and heard the audio messages both to and from and among other members of Diddy's alleged enterprise. And in the process, guess what? Yes, we learned another term for Diddy's sex parties. Many on the staff called them king nights. We heard them as freak-offs, hotel
King
nights.
nights.
Now, king nights, as in a night for Diddy the King to have wild sex with a few of his so-called guests. Yes, I said a few, not just one, not just two.
Or as the guests turned out to be victims.
Multiple guests. But some of the text messages indicated that things went off the rails and may have become violent. There was an exchange from 2017 that begins with a text from Cassie to Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Coram. And Cassie writes, WTF? Coram responds back by asking if she's okay, and Cassie texts, no, but you should talk to him, meaning presumably Diddy. I'm sure you don't want to get involved, Cassie says, but no one deserves being dragged by their hair, end quote. Christina Coram responds, I will try to talk with him when he's up. I could go on, and I'm actually going to go on. But first, a quick word about Diddy's jury, because the judge told us on Friday that he was strong.
And there it is, isn't it? I was, laughing about the king, nomenclature, really. I was thinking, that's how powerful men see themselves, don't they, really? But it's like, I will try to talk to him. There really is a sense that, he ruled his fiefdom. It was his way or the highway. I will try to talk to him. But we all know there's no talking to somebody who's as powerful and as omnipotent as Sean Combs. No one ever said no.
Strongly inclined to give juror number 6 the boot. And this morning, he gave juror number 6 the boot. He said that he believed that number 6 lied about where he really lived on a regular basis, just so that he could for sure get picked to be on this jury. The defense was not happy about this. They complained that losing a black man would make that jury panel less diverse. But the judge said there's still plenty of diversity on that panel, even with the addition of the alternate, who's a white guy. As it stands now, there are 8 men and 4 women, and at least 5 people are of color. And as if that wasn't enough juror drama, a second juror was then held after court for questioning today. All I can tell you is what TMZ is reporting about this one, because the judge wouldn't tell us. TMZ says that this juror received a strange text message from an unknown number asking if he was juror number 6, the juror 6 who got bounced. The man reported the contact, as he's supposed to the judge, and it is not clear tonight, at least it's not clear to me, whether any legal harm has been done by this or any action needs to be taken, but everything's going on as planned. I'm joined now by Lauren Conlon, host of the popular true crime podcast.
I wonder if this is an attempt by associates of P. Diddy, Sean Combs, or once again, if we're getting conspiratorial, the state, to collapse the trial. Because on the face of it, all the charges that Diddy's got leveled against him are they're kind of slam dunk charges, really. There seems on the face of it to be so much evidence against him that there's no getting out of it. And he did plead not guilty to all those charges, which, again, on the face of it, I thought to myself, how can you, I mean, it's tantamount, in my eyes, to seeing somebody, have a gun, shoot somebody, have that recorded, and then the person who was recorded holding the gun shooting somebody saying, it wasn't me, I wasn't there. Prove it. Which I suppose, as a defendant, is the smart thing. But, well, you might have copped a plea deal, but apparently not. He's going to tough it out.
That's the outlier. And Pop Crime TV on YouTube, she was in the courtroom for all of this today, the drama and
watching the
everything.
porn.
I have to ask you first and foremost about the reaction to the jury panel, Lauren, when they were basically forced to watch pornography for many minutes upon minutes, right? And I kept wondering, the women versus the men, how did they react? So just take me there and tell me what you saw.
Can you imagine being there?
Yes, Ashley.
Panning across the jury and all the men are kind of like, and maybe even some of the women, who knows?
This one female juror who is pretty known to show reactions in the courtroom, she was horrified. She was looking away. I think she was kind of covering her eyes.
Oh, God.
It was very clear
it's terrible.
she was
Make
not enjoying what she was watching. Now, on the other hand, the men, I gotta say, they did not move, Ashley. Their eyes were locked on the screen, and they were pretty much like,
yeah, baby.
So, yeah, there was quite a difference. And I'll also tell you that in the gallery, it was during video 2, we could hear moaning. We weren't quite sure. And then all of a sudden, the reporter next to me, we're kind of elbowing each other. We're kind of all looking around, sharing glances.
All we need is
like,
the boom chugga wow wow music over the top.
And I noticed that some of the jurors kind of had their headsets on halfway on their ears, covering them. So maybe the sound was kind of escaping that way, but we definitely heard part of video number 2.
Ew. Well, okay, so, all right, that happened. I kind of expected, Lauren, that was going to be the reaction, that the men would be like, yeah, well, so, okay, I've seen this kind of thing before, maybe, but the women would be
come on.
floored, that they were actually forced to do this as part of their public service. Talk to me about how things went after they've spent like 6 weeks now with juror number 6, and suddenly he's gone. Were they even told, where's the guy that we've been sitting with, and why is there a new guy? Like, what were the dynamics like when suddenly there's a new person on the panel this far into the case?
Well, it's really interesting because at the end of the day today, Alexandra Shapiro, Diddy's appellate lawyer, I believe, on the defense, she asked the judge, how were the other jurors told about juror 6 leaving, or what were they told? What went on behind closed doors? And the judge actually said, let me find out and I'll get back to you tomorrow. And look, Diddy's team was not happy about losing this juror. That is clear. Late Sunday night, June 15th, they submitted a motion saying if this juror is in fact dismissed, we will most likely move for a 3rd mistrial. And I saw Diddy's face as the jury was coming in this morning and juror number 6 was missing or dismissed, not there. He looked down and kind of just shook his head, very disappointed. And the new juror is a 57-year-old accountant, which, let's be honest, accountants are historically good for the prosecution.
Tell me about the boys. Every day in court, I've been sort of amazed and skeeved out by the fact that Diddy's sons are in court to hear all of this filthy testimony. I get it. You got to have your family to show support. But as a father, I would never want my children to hear.
It's difficult because for me, there is a real element of Sean Combs including his kids when they become adults. I think I would have to sort of caveat that. I don't know how. None of us know how bad a man he really is. I suppose this trial will eventually sort of bring that out. But, when you're an adult, if it's your son, you're kind of like, I need to have my, you want to include them in the sort of like the kingdom, running the kingdom, and I think they had their own business, or his one son had a business which was very sort of lucrative or successful. Is that true or not? I'll have to look that up, I suppose.
This stuff, yet they've been there every day, except for today. They weren't there. Do you have some insight?
Well, I noticed that early on they did miss a couple days here and there, or they
who
would
wants
show
to
up
see
for a half day.
Who
So
wants
I
to
really
see
didn't
their
think
dad,
much of it.
getting
His
it on?
sons have been incredibly supportive. I mean, as you know, court can be very tedious, but they have shown up for their father. And we saw these social media posts that they put out on Father's Day, which were very loving. So I don't have any insight as to why they weren't there today, but I'm not looking too much into it.
Unlike the jury.
What were the posts like? What did they say in their Father's Day posts?
Well, Christian Combs had this post of he and his dad, and he was very little. He was maybe 5 or 6 years old. And I actually thought, yep, there it is. I thought it was very heartfelt because he wrote something like, I love you and I miss you and I'll see you at home. Or we're waiting for you at home. And I always think when you take ownership and say, I love you instead of love you, it really indicates that you mean it. And then I believe it was Justin Combs. He put a video up and his was a little more fun, a little more casual, but just really showing that they support their dad and they truly believe that he is coming home.
Wow.
Who knows, I suppose.
I saw some of the comments and it was fascinating. You should go to the comments section, folks. It's entertainment in itself. Hey, Lauren Conlon, thank you so much. Come back again. That's just great insights. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
All right, I want to bring in Ashley Wilcott, Court TV anchor, former juvenile court judge in Georgia, and just a super smart person when it comes to everything in American jurisprudence. Okay, other Ashley, judge. I thought when we were getting into receipts and all the dry, boring stuff, I thought, they just got to get this stuff on the record. And then I started to see boxes being checked. And I'm not sure if I'm the only one. I felt like the government was winding up with a bang. Here are the receipts to sex trafficking. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, Ashley. I think that's exactly what they intended. Because remember, they put this testimony out to really connect the dots between P. Diddy and his staff, chief of staff. Here you hear about all these things like the setup of the hotel rooms, coordinating travel for Jane and the escort, Paul, paying for the product, for the drugs that they were going to use. All of the specifics that go right hand in hand, quite frankly, with sex trafficking and engaging in a criminal enterprise.
Need more space? Use ours.
It seems to me that is just how can you escape from this? He said not guilty to all the charges.
So whether you need personal or business storage,
does that mean that's not him on the film?
Choose from a variety.
Frankly, with sex trafficking and engaging in a criminal enterprise.
So what about Christina Coram? I thought for sure the feds were going to pressure her and say, either you turn and you testify for us or you're going to go away like Ghislaine Maxwell. That's sort of how I had it in my head.
Yeah.
But she's not being called. What are your thoughts?
How?
I don't think you're wrong, Ashley.
How
I think
is she not being called?
Typically, when we see a witness like that, they're calling her.
Is this like the prosecution's hubris? Do they think that they have enough on him? Bearing in mind, he said he's pleaded not guilty to all the charges. Do they think they have enough that they don't need to call what in any other circumstances would be regarded as not just a star witness, but a superstar witness? She had a finger in every pie. No pun intended. She was everywhere all of the time. if there's any reason to believe that this may be like he may have been a state asset, then not calling her, it sort of points in that direction, in my opinion.
Conspirator. And typically the feds aren't going to refer to her as a co-conspirator unless they're planning to charge or they're continuing to investigate to determine if they should charge her. And I think the reality is this, you know it as well as I do because you're smart, Ashley. If in fact they had offered her a deal that she felt like was a good enough deal, I think she would have taken it. So the fact she's not testifying, I think we may see charges against her in the future.
Oh, no, that is interesting.
That's what I thought.
Like a lesser
but I
charge.
To check with someone way better at this than I am, because I just thought it doesn't make any sense. The jury's been hearing about this chief of staff nonstop, the linchpin between all these.
So does that mean that other people who we thought were going to testify, who haven't testified, some of whom we can, I think, assume got paid off as this all got underway? I heard on, I think, News Nation and possibly Sky News as well, and certainly on Law and Crime Network, that some people had been paid off by Diddy's team, and it was enough that they felt, well, okay, my complaint will go away now. I've been paid off and I'm happy with that. So they would never appear in court. Is there a scope for them to appear in court at a later date then, under different charges? Because if that's the case, if quorum ends up coming back, then P. Diddy's going to be the gift that keeps giving.
Text messages. Okay, real quickly, the freak off videos, these poor jurors, I guess, had to watch porn today. And I wondered why the government waited till the end instead of starting off that way so that they had that frame of reference every...
Jurors all over the world going, who'd been called to jury service. I wish I'd had that trial.
Time they heard these women talking about how awful it was.
It's strategic, and I can promise you that they wanted to hit with the biggest impact. And what's the biggest impact? That video of all the testimony, having to watch the freak-offs is going to be the biggest piece of evidence. It's at the end on purpose because all it does is confirm everything they've heard from the witnesses so that the jurors can say, aha, not only do we see it, but everything these witnesses told us is true, they're credible.
You know, Court TV is lucky to have you, Judge Ashley. Thank you so much for being on. Come back again.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get...
That's the end of that. Well, what do you think? I know what I think. I think P. Diddy is guilty. I think there's a lot not being said, certainly in the courtroom. People have been paid off. And I do think somehow that this trial is going to be the gift that keeps on giving. And so until next time, this is me signing off. Look after yourselves.